I did 1,000 Rubik's Cube solves per day for a week. As a result of doing this many solves, did my average improve? Did I get tons of PB averages and good single solves? Well, you'll find out shortly. My plan was that I would do an initial 200 solve session and take note of the average. Starting the next day, I would do 1,000 solves per day for a week. Then a day after the week ended, I would do another 200 solve session and compare that to the initial 200 solve session. How long does it take me to do 1,000 solves? About 7 hours. You may wonder how I have time to do this. It's because I have no life. Dang it. Before we begin, let's take a look at the session I had been doing prior to this week. This session has 7,782 solves, which were done from July 29th to August 24th. The average was 8.21. Here are the stats. Based on the current average of 1,000, 2,000, and 5,000, I was averaging 8.1 to 8.2 when the session ended. Looking at the average of 1,000 progression, it's probably not a big enough sample size to see if the average is trending in any particular direction. It fluctuates between 8.35 and 8.03 and ends at 8.13. Now let's go to August 25th, the day when I did my initial 200 solve session. Hi, so this morning I did 200 solves. Here are the stats for that session. The average was 8.32. I had been averaging around 8.1 in the days prior to this session, so in comparison 8.3 is not very good. That's what happens, so I just gotta roll with it. Anyways, I'm gonna work on this video now, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'm about to do my first 1,000 solve session of this week. Oh man. Nice slow solve to start off. Another full step. Halt. Okay, seriously, come on. Nice. I'm gonna take a bit of a break. Well, I'm gonna transfer the videos from the camera to my computer to save some space for the rest of the session. The average of the session so far is 8.07. Wow. Doesn't look like I got any PVs, but pretty good session nonetheless. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm back. So I've done 752 solves, just 248 more solves, and that'll be done for today. Alright, it's 1,000. Day 1 of 7. I got 3 DNFs, that's fun. I imagine the second part of the session was not quite as good. Current average of 200 is 8.12. It was only a little bit worse, I guess. So the average of the session is 8.10. Yes, that's it. My hands are a little bit sore, but it didn't affect my solves much. Mainly, I'm just feeling really hot because this room, the air conditioning doesn't really work very well. So overall, that session was pretty good. No PVs or sub 5 solves, but the average was 8.10, which I consider to be pretty good. See you tomorrow. Alright, day 2. Been going pretty well so far. Nothing bad has happened yet. I haven't lost motivation. My hands haven't gotten sore. But anyways, I'm gonna get started on today's session. Let's hope it continues to go well. Yes. Hey. Okay, I may as well just end there for now. It's about 12 o'clock. I'm gonna go eat lunch. And the average of the session is 8.28. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I'm back. So I'm kind of losing motivation because my cube isn't very good right now, which has caused my times to be not quite as good. But anyways, I'm just gonna finish. Unless unnecessary rotation. Okay, that's 1,000. Oh man. The average of the session was 8.25. Alright. Alright, day 3. So this time if my cube feels bad, then I'm actually going to clean it out and lubricate it. Let's see how this goes. thread is free. Transfer the videos, and I guess maybe eat for lunch. And then I'll finish it. The average of the solves is 8.22. I'm back. So for that session, my cube wasn't really that slow, but my turning was slow, and I was locking up a lot. So I started intentionally slowing my turning down, and that actually seemed to help because I was locking up less and had better look ahead. So I'm going to continue to do that and see how it goes. Crap. Couldn't wait. What? How was that a 6? .23 average. Technically better than yesterday, huh? My best average of 100 was 7.78. That's really good, actually. Well, that session sucked, mainly because my cube sucked. So tomorrow I'm actually going to lubricate, I'm going to clean out and lubricate my cube. So before today's session, I'm going to clean out and lubricate my cube. Let's see how well that works. I just cleaned out and lubricated my cube, and it still sucks. Wonderful. I'm going to look up how to change the tensions of a GAN cube, because I have a feeling that might be the reason why it sucks right now. Alright, so I changed the tensions on my cube to a looser setting. It didn't seem to have helped that much, but we'll see how it goes when I continue the session. I just cleaned out my cube and lubricated it again, except this time I put 2 drops of lubricant in instead of 1. I really hope this works. So after solving it for a little bit here, it feels better, at least. It feels faster. It's just that the tensions are too loose. I wish they were back on the original tensions. Okay, after the solve, I'm gonna change it back to the original tensions and see, but yeah, it does feel a little bit better. Alright, I really hope that helped, because it felt a little too loose. I was getting corner twists more often, and hopefully it just feels good now. Two move cross, okay. With a 3 move insert. What the heck? The average is 8.36. I can't believe I got a 732 average of 25. What? That's completely random. And 767 average of 50 too. Wow. 767 average of 50. That's what I meant. And then the words T. The word T. T-O-O. My hand was really sore this morning, but it feels a little bit better now. I did some turns on my GAN XS, and it feels a little bit better than it was yesterday, so I'm going to use it at first, but if it becomes terrible, then I'm going to switch to my MoU RS3M 2020. Average 8.39. Oh man. I just cleaned out and lubricated my RS3, and I also loosened the tensions a little bit, so let's see how that works. Time number 710 was a 710. And the average was 8.25. I got a PB average of 25. Nice. And wait, and a PB average of 50? I think I just broke 2 PBs. Wow. I cleaned out and lubricated my GAN cube again. $8.51 average. $8.50. Cube was bad still, and I was really tired for like the last few hours of the session. Last day. I'm going to try to stick with the RS3 for this whole session and see if it helps, because actually that was the only cube. Like my session 2 days ago was 8.25 with that cube, so maybe that's the key to getting a decent session. I think that was an I was tired for these last 150 solves, so that's why this part of the session wasn't very good. But the average of the whole session today was 8.22. I think the first 500 solves had like an 8.15 average or something, and then the rest of it was not as good. I got a really good average of 5, and a really good me at 3. My nose was runny. I have to go to the bathroom. And the average was 8.37. How do I feel now that I'm finished? Sad, because there wasn't any significant improvement. I only broke 2 PBs, and my cubes had bad turning almost the entire time. Now let's look at the results. These are the averages of each individual session. Day 0 and 1 were the only days where I had a decent cube. I'd say that day 1 is more representative of my actual average, or at least what I average at my best when my cube is good and there aren't other factors such as tiredness slowing my solves down. As a result of my cube getting worse, it's hard to tell whether any actual improvement took place. The turning of my GAN cube steadily declined throughout. On the second half of day 5, I switched to my Moyu RS3, and I averaged under 8.1 for that part of the session. But then on day 6, I tried going back to the GAN cube, which was a mistake. Even during the first half of the session, where tiredness wasn't a factor, I was averaging 8.5. Then on day 7, I switched entirely to the RS3 and averaged 8.22. I probably would have averaged 8.15 if I wasn't tired at the end of the session. Days 0 and 8 were supposed to be the sessions used to compare before the week and after the week and see if improvement took place. Nope. Here are the best and worst single times from each day. My best overall time was 4.63 and my worst was 23.22. Here are the best averages from each session, and here are the best averages achieved overall. Most of the significant best averages were achieved during day 1 and at the end of day 5. The average of 25 and 50 were overall PBs at the time. My PBs before this session were 7.30 average of 25 and 7.50 average of 50. Here is the average of 100 progression for each session. All of the long straight lines are where I took breaks. Day 1 was the most consistently good. I stayed under 8.4 most of the time and had a long section averaging 7.9 to 8.0. Here are days 2, 3, and 4. This part of day 5 is when I switched to my Moyu RS3. Day 6 was the worst. The average went up to 8.8 at one point. Day 7 I switched entirely to the RS3, so the average was more consistently good than most of the days. Here are the average of 100 progressions for day 0 and 8. They both ranged from 8.4 to 8.2. Here are the time distributions for each day. All of these are for solves from 5 seconds to 12 seconds, except day 2, which includes 2 4-second solves. Every day had more 7s than 8s, except day 4 and 6. Day 1 was the only day with more 6s than 9s. Here are the time distributions for day 0 and 8. Even though the average of day 8 was only 0.05 worse than day 0, that heavily affected this distribution. Here are the number of sub-6 solves for each day. Of days 1 through 7, day 7 had the most with 21, and day 4 had the least with 8. Now let's combine days 1 through 7 into one session and look at the results. Here are the best averages. The only new information here is the average of 2,000 and 5,000. The average of all the solves from days 1 through 7 is 8.27. Here is the average of 1,000 progression for days 1 through 7. Each of these boxes represents one day. This shows how bad day 6 was. Here's the average of 100 progression. Same idea. This represents the same information I showed earlier in the video but combined into one graph. Here is the time distribution for days 1 through 7. I got 96 5s and 2 4s. Combining days 0 through 8 yields similar results. The best average of 5,000 went from 8.25 8.24 to 8.23. The average went from 8.27 to 8.28. For days 0 through 8, I got a total of 100 5-second solves. Finally, we will combine days 0 through 8 with the session that had been taking place for about 3 weeks beforehand. Now we find that I ultimately broke my PB average of 5,000 and 10,000. My previous PBs were 8.19 average of 5,000 and 8.48 average of 10,000. The 8.48 average of 10,000 was achieved during the year-long cubing session, which was a separate session. If this 15,000 solve session had been combined with the year-long session, the change wouldn't have been so dramatic. The average of this whole session is 8.24. Here is the average of 1,000 progression for both sessions, separating them into 2 sessions. You can clearly see that the week-long session was not an improvement compared to the first session. Here is the time distribution for both sessions combined. I now have a total of 224 5s, 7 4s, and 1 3. So what I was hoping was that as a result of doing so many solves, my average would improve and I would get lots of PB averages and good single solves. I did end up getting 4 PB averages, average of 10,000, 5,000, 50, and 25, but I only got 2 sub-5 solves, and my average of 1,000 for the most part ranged from being about the same as before to way worse. The improvement I was expecting certainly wasn't there. I am tempted to blame my cubes for this result. Yes, my GAN cube basically died, and in the process it negatively affected my times for a significant portion of the week-long session, but that's probably not the only reason that my average didn't improve. It's possible that doing 1,000 solves a day is not an effective way to improve. Maybe doing so many solves results in placing too much physical and mental stress on myself. Still though, my cube going bad is making this analysis much more difficult. Maybe sometime in the future I will try this again, but only using a really good cube the whole time. Anyways, that's about it for this video. I would really appreciate feedback on what you thought of this video so I can improve for future videos. Thanks for watching!